and welcome back to part 2 of this build of the de Havilland Sea Vixen in 1/32 scale. As was discussed in the first part, this is actually a large scale vac form which I produce, and as such the sheets that I use actually come with quite a lot of excess which needs to be removed from the parts in order for them to be built into a kit. So one of the techniques that I've seen people do in the past is to go around the outside of every part with a permanent marker pen. This then gives you a line to work to and gives you a visual reference to cut up to. This is one of the techniques which lots of people use. Personally I don't. I tend to do it my own way, and I do it by eye. It may not necessarily be the best way, but it's the way I find quick and efficient. So one of the other things that people do is to go in at an angle. Now my own preference is to take the part, cut around quite close to it with a pair of scissors. These are a pair of Japanese heavy duty scissors which I bought off a well-known auction site, and they cut through this plastic which is 1.5mm high impact polystyrene quite easily. So once the extra material that I don't want is removed and I've got it down to quite a close gap, I'll then take a saw, and in this case it's a modelling saw specifically for plastics. Looking at it from an angle, you can cut in almost directly by holding the blade flat against the surface. Now you'll see what I'm doing by doing that right here and now. What that does, because all of the parts are always done with an extra bit of material, it allows for any part to be cut in this method and not lose any material which is required for the appropriate cross-section of the part that we're doing. So by gently cutting, I know some people will be looking at this and thinking, watch your fingers. Yes, I'm very fortunate that I've done this for quite some time and I know exactly how much pressure to apply. So cutting at that angle, you can see the blade has now gone through, and over a period of time gently does it all the way along, and you'll follow the edge if you like. That black line there isn't essential, but it kind of gives you a reference material, reference mark, as I said. So subsequently working all the way along the top of this particular part, this is one of the booms for the one of the overwing fuel tanks for the booms, and this is what is part of the recognition features for a FAW Mark II. So as you can see, in very quick order I've taken a lot of that material away, and knowing how it works, by folding it back on itself you get the bit that you don't want out of the way, and you can throw that away straight away. You could actually use it for tabs later on if you wanted to, but I don't. So keep on going, and by working along like this you can see how quickly this part is actually being removed from the backing, and what that means is you can actually crack right on with a model fairly swiftly without having to worry about how long it's going to take getting all the parts ready for assembly. You can see quite quickly getting down to quite an awkward shaped area now, the tip, and keeping that blade in at a shallow angle, pull that away, and you'll see it kind of looks a bit ragged, and not a problem. I take a Permagrit sanding block, and it's quite a rough one, in a matter of seconds, on the rough side anyway, I can get that nice and smooth, trimmed away, ready for assembly. So the alternative way of doing it, which a lot of people have done in the past, is to actually use a scalpel or similar blade. I find the scalpel blades a little bit weak doing this because they are slightly thinner. The X-Acto blades are just that little bit thicker, and you can apply a little bit more pressure. So as you can see, I'm literally just following that black line in that corner, but this time I'm doing it at a 45-degree angle. Now the reason is that at that 45-degree angle there is a slight thinning of the plastic around that curve. So once we've got that into that corner, it's just a case of flexing the material. I tend to go towards the cut and then away from it, and you can see how quickly that actual technique works, and within a matter of a very short period of time we're almost at the point of assembling this part. Again, this technique is quite fast and efficient. However, it does require a little bit more preparation with the sanding. Personal choice, but at the end of the day it's up to the modeler how they do it. There's no set way, and it's entirely an individual's own preference. As you can see, this one takes just a little bit longer. End result is essentially the same, and from here you can see that there's a little bit of the material that was cut at the 45 degrees which just peels away. So with that in mind, I'm going to close this episode, and hopefully you've got some idea of how I remove parts from the backing. I have had an experience with another person who showed me how to do this with a rotary tool, but I felt it was a bit dangerous, so this is why I've done it with the hand tools, because I have more control over it. Anyway, at this point I'm going to say goodbye for now, and this is just the Permagrit tool that I use, and a couple of the other parts, the pencil, the knife and the saw. Cheers for now. Bye.